I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates all of the stuff that is in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
We're doing it.
We're
living.
We're living.
We're vibing. We're talking about stuff, not necessarily shows.
Stuff about stuff.
As we... Hey.
It's a reference.
That is a reference. No one knows that. Afterbirth Monkey hasn't been a thing in like a decade.
But the albums still exist, and they're great albums.
That's very true. Yeah.
And we've referenced Afterbirth Monkey on the show before, I feel like.
Wait, no, Stuff About Stuff was the EP.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, we're going on a tangent. That we burned onto CDs.
That's right.
From a computer, put in a Ziploc bag with a little bit of oregano to make it look like it was weed, and one of our friends tried to smoke the oregano.
That sounds about right.
Madness. That was Stuff About Stuff.
That was Stuff About Stuff.
Yeah, that's not, you can't find that anywhere. That's ephemeral.
That's ephemeral.
I tell you. Memory lane.
But
don't do that to me.
Getting to the root of the matter. But yes, for the short term, as well as the strike still continues on for SAG and for the WGA, which it is, we are going to cover things that are not popular TV and movies. We're going to talk about theater, video games, books.
Yeah.
Live events, wrestling, sports, whatever we can talk about that's not touching that stuff, just to be in full support of the folks. And this is, I think, Rachel and I are going a little above and beyond, but there is, Rachel is also an actor, and like, I just don't want us to, and like, I edit a lot of podcasts, so there is a chance that we could work with SAG, and so we want to support them in this endeavor.
Yeah. Also, if there's any way that I can avoid crossing a picket line, I'm going to choose that. No matter what, So
we will of course let you know when we're shifting back to the other stuff, but this isn't really book club-ish. You kind of tune in to get recommendations, and so it'll still be more of that, just different media. And to join us on this adventure as we venture into the unknown is someone who's, I think, perfect for stepping outside the lines, who covers a lot of content on their own show. It's the one and only Doug Lief. Doug, thank you for joining us.
So glad to be here. Thanks so much. And yes, I am in the same I'm in the same boat as you, because like you said, we do cover a lot of TV and movies on my show. So I'm kind of feeling it out as I go here while we wait for the strike to end.
Which is kind of how it goes. And I think that SAG has been very communicative of the rules and things that they want us to follow, and so we're doing our best. But I'm so excited to have you on, Doug. I was recently on an episode of your show, Nostalgium Arcanum, to talk about Chrono Trigger, and we're going to talk more about your incredible podcast in just a little bit. But
thank you.
Before we get to that, as always, we're going to talk about the most recent things we've done or consumed, as it were. Participated in. And I will, as of course, go first. Although I suppose since we're breaking rules here left and right, we could break the order too. But I think we'll.
I mean, I'd be down. Okay. Whatever.
Rachel, you want to swapsies? You want to go first?
Sure. You know what? I'll go first.
There you go.
Hello. I as per usual for this podcast, I have found myself with limited time to participate in media as a viewer. A lot is going on, and that's fine. I think it is valid to still discuss what we're carving out time for, and the thing that has sort of been a continual force for good in my life has been Tears of the Kingdom.
Hell yeah.
I love that game so much. I loved Breath of the Wild so much that both of these playthroughs have occurred and are occurring in similar fashion, where I am watching my partner play initially. Kind of dipping in and out. So please do not judge me for not knowing all of the fine minutia of everything already. But I am also playing my own separate playthrough where I am paying more attention, really getting the mechanics, really feeling them out. These Zelda games, these past two, have just been the kind of games that I just want to perpetually live in. So getting to live in it through the perspective of someone who's just viewing the playthrough and someone who is actively like doing their own separate playthrough and making different decisions and building different machines. I love it. It's this game is so nice. Playing
Twice.
air quotes, playing it twice. It's all the things that I really, really enjoyed about Breath of the Wild, plus really cool building mechanics. I'm absolutely, positively 100% obsessed with the fact that Link sings motifs of Zelda scores while cooking.
It's the best part of
It's
the whole game.
blowing my mind every time he hums the little like Gerudo Valley thing. I just like I pop so hard for this game. It's a treat. It's more of what you like, plus more things you'll also like. The expansion of the map with the overworld and the underworld, so fun. Again, that sort of new building mechanic where you can just take pieces, stick them together with magic glue. So, like, the things people are now creating, the fact that this game makes space for everyone who wants to just break the fuck out of this game rules. It rules. Like, hi, would you like this game? Cool. Would you like to break it? Absolutely. You know, they took the freedom of the first one and went, how about we do more? How about we give you the ability to just make a flying bike? Would you like a flying bike this time? Have it. Enjoy your flying bike. Buzz around the whole map on your flying bike. It's a treat. It's a delight. I have not finished the game.
Right.
In our I'll call it our playthrough, the one that my partner is doing that I'm watching. We're just about to finish filling out the map by getting down to Gerudo for the final tower.
Mm-hmm.
And in my personal playthrough, I just met with the scientist kid at Kakariko. No, wait, where are they? Right under Hyrule,
right.
Where we're about to go look for Zelda. And near the castle.
So the
We
very
just woke
beginning
up,
of the game.
Just jumped off the island, running around. Yeah, so I'm enamored. I wish I had an extra day of the week to enjoy and consume.
It's a good one. The building mechanic is great. I love seeing what other people can make. I'm function over fashion. All the stuff I've ever made in that game looks awful, but it gets the job done, and that's all that matters. It's not graceful, but it works. I'm
going to spend too much time making things picture perfect.
I can't do
and
it.
That is going to be my downfall.
I'm so bad at that. But what I love that you brought up, like breaking the game, like the ability to go through platforms above you. That ability was a dev tool, and they were like, this is actually really useful. We should just give it to the players. And so they did.
I love rock swimming.
And it's just it's great. Also the breaking the game as far as puzzles, like there are shrines I've gone into where I've literally just done the antithesis of what they wanted me to, but it worked. Like there was like this Rube Goldberg-esque machine where there was a ball going through it, and you had to like change time so it would go in a different direction through the machine. Instead, I glided over to the machine, got inside it, and then just took the ball and took it out of the machine, like around the wall of it, and dropped it where it needed to go. And they said, yeah, you could do that. And that was it.
Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm with you on this. I'm one of the weirdos who was kind of lukewarm on Breath of the Wild, and some of my gripes from that game are still in Tears of the Kingdom. But the build up this contraption mechanic that they've put into it, like the physics engine that they've sort of set loose into the world, it just alleviates a lot of that stuff because there's so much more fun to be had. And Matt, I'm like you. Like everything I've made in that game is ugly garbage. But if it was enough to get me over a ledge or past a thing, then I was like, I'm fine with it. Like you can Wile E. Coyote the crap out of me in this game, and as long as I kind of get where I need to go, I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also one of those people who thought Breath of the Wild was fine. I think it didn't have enough character for me as other Zelda games do, and the story was light on it, which was intentional. Like, there were cutscenes you had to hunt down, but for the most part, the narrative was kind of loose through the experience. What I love about Tears of the Kingdom already, having beaten it and finished it, is that it's way more narrative heavy. There's a lot more story. There's a lot more going on. And, like, also, without spoiling the ending, this is my favorite version of Link and Zelda and their relationship. It just feels the most natural, and also one of my favorite versions of Ganondorf. Besides the fact that he's hot, I think that it's a really interesting characterization of him because he's a leader of the Gerudo people who then turns on everyone. And I think that's been the case in other games, but like the way they showcase it in the very early stages of this game, I think is really well done.
Well, what you're talking about is intrigue, right? I think
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild is cool, but it doesn't have intrigue because you walk through that world and it's really It's kind of interesting, but it's ultimately very empty, and there's not a lot of incident in it. Like it's just like, yeah, go wander around, find what you need, and then kill Ganon. That's it. And here it's like, no, there's a history, there's something going on, there's a mystery to uncover. Which again is like, for all of the gripes I have that carried over from the first game, like man, that greases the experience a lot more. It makes it go down smooth. I'm more incentivized to do the exploration it requires, and I'm more delighted by what I find.
Yeah. It's also got one of the best splash screens in the history of video games. Like the whole intro of the game leading to that moment where you're shot into the sky and you're falling, and then it just shows the title card. It's like, it's just a brilliant.
I really thought they couldn't top you walking up the cliff and that panning shot in the first one, but no, you're flying in the air. You are free.
Yeah.
Welcome.
It's a brilliant game, and like while Breath of the Wild I think stands as an impressive game but not a favorite, Tears of the Kingdom is in the top tier. And also, like again, without spoiling, there are moments in this game that made me cry, whereas I didn't really feel anything from Breath of the Wild. I felt accomplished when I finished it, but like I guess there's just so much because, well, I guess I'll keep it light because it's easy to talk about this game without discussing the narrative. But like the people that you meet and the characters, like there are bonds in the flashbacks and other things, the visions you get. You see bonds being formed and people actually like talking and emoting and like creating community in a way. And part of that is the history from the first game, right? Like Tarrytown is one of yes, Tarrytown, I think.
Yes,
Tarrytown
with all the suns.
Yes, it's one of my favorite things in this game because it's all based on what you did for the first game. And I think that's also the small touch of like if you had a Breath of the Wild save and you had horses, all of those horses are still in this game. There's just little things like that I think give this game more life than the first game had. And like the music also is hands down so much better in this game. Incredibly epic tracks and like just more. It's more there. It was so background in the first of these two games, and so I'm glad that that's kind of more bombastic in this game as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just like so many game sequels, even going back because on our show we'll cover much older stuff, but like over and over again, you keep seeing the thing where the first game in a series, or in this case, kind of a new iteration on the series, is like the proof of concept. And then the second one is like, okay, we learned from our mistakes and stuff. How can we do this even better? And it's always that second game where things start to take off.
Yeah, I also really appreciate how much this one has taken from. And I haven't played a ton of Zelda games, just to like be fully transparent. Like I played Twilight Princess, that was my first one. Skyward Sword was the one where I fell in love with this series. At me, bros. I played it non-HD and I loved it. I loved it immensely. I was so into that game. But I love so much that this one takes a lot of Skyward Sword and also improves it. It really feels like this game is the one that has looked at the entire breadth of the franchise, of the series, of this legend, and went, okay, let's take this, that. Let's put it all together and make it a real soupçon of everything that kind of works. You know, the fact that you can fly around, that you have these sky islands, sort of that reference to Skyward Sword with their little like skyloft situation. If there were big birds that I could ride in this one, perfect game, 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10, actually. If I could have my loft wing again, forget about it. I love that this game loves itself.
Yeah.
You know, that it loves Zelda games. It just loves them. It's been a delightful experience so far, and I'm very, very excited to witness its ending, see how the story unfolds, and also maybe find a way to break up the marriage between Sidon and that little lady, because I want Link to marry Sidon.
I mean, yes, they're boyfriends. Like that,
they're boyfriends.
Yeah,
no, got a little ghost boyfriend running around with me. No, not enough. I need to kiss that fish man.
I will also say without spoilers, there's obviously a quest in this game to get the Master Sword, as there's been in almost every game.
Oh yeah, the quest is neat.
The quest to get the Master Sword is one of the best stories, I think, in all of Zelda. It's just done so well. And it's one of the more unique ways that it shows, again, without spoiling, the bond between Link and Zelda. And I loved it. It was, again, I think the storytelling, Zelda's always been light on dialogue, but not on story, right? Things happen, actions happen, everyone but Link talks. But I think this one really shows a lot more of the relationships between characters in a way that I really love. And so I hope that continues to be the trend as we get more 3D and 2D Zelda games. So, Rachel,
Agreed.
if you had to
Yes.
sum up The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom in only 3 words, and you couldn't use any of those words, all those words I just said, what 3 words would you use to summarize this game?
You are free.
Oh, good. That was good. Well done. Love that.
Because you are.
Yeah.
Like, you're free to solve anything the way you want to. Do anything you wish in whatever order, even more than I think in the first one, because even the fact that it has a story that you're following, it's gonna give it to you in the order you find it, and nothing's really like being too affected. You know, if you want to go to the Gerudo first, and not. It's all just a vast improvement on, as you said, Doug, a proof of concept that Breath of the Wild was. So 10 out of 10, actually. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Loft wing or no, 10 out of 10.
I guess I'll go next, and then we will still save
Yes.
the best for last.
Obviously.
So I think Doug knows what I'm going to talk about because I tweeted quite a bit about it. But for those who don't necessarily follow my video game adventures, as this is typically a TV and movie podcast, I'd wanted over the last few years to engage in more of the Final Fantasy franchise. I played through Final Fantasy 16 and really loved it. And so I was like, I put out a poll on Twitter through Fun and Games, because my Twitter is still persona non grata, my personal Twitter, about which of the last 4 like old school pixel games which I should play, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And 3 got almost no votes, comically, which was pretty funny. But 4 ended up winning, and also everyone who like had a comment said I should play 4, then 5, then 6, because if nothing else, it shows the progression of the tech and hardware across the Super Nintendo and how the game's improved. And as a Chrono Trigger fan, I've seen kind of like the pinnacle of it, as I tend to put that above the other 3, mostly just because I have so much more experience with Chrono Trigger. But I was like, all right, the Pixel remasters came out last year, the Switch versions came out this year, and I've wanted to play these old games, except for 1 and 2. Those games can go fuck themselves because they're really hard and not good games. Fight me, nerds. But I was like, all right, well, I'll play Final Fantasy IV. And so I picked it up on Switch and ended up falling in love with it. I mean, it's no secret that I love Super Nintendo RPGs. I love turn-based RPGs. But the story in this game, the main character Cecil and the journey he goes on, impacted me more than I expected it to. And like, again, a fan of this era of video games, and especially RPGs, I wasn't shocked that I got really into it, but I got really, really into it. And I was actually really happy about that, because I've played other RPGs recently and like enjoyed them, but maybe didn't get sucked in as much. I'm waiting for Sea of Stars, which is an indie game I'm really excited about. That's in the vein of Chrono Trigger, coming out later this month as of when we're recording. But I ended up really falling in love with it. Final Fantasy IV, I think, might be one of my favorites now. I don't think anything's going to top 9 or 7 for me, but it's up in the top 5 for me without a doubt. I really dug it. And it reminded me that even though storytelling is impressive now, Super Nintendo games, especially Japanese Super Nintendo games like this and Chrono Trigger and a bunch of others, Breath of Fire, which is Capcom, but like these games had really great storytelling even before the age of FMVs and cutscenes and voice acting. And like, I really ended up really loving it. It took me about 25 hours to finish, and like I'd say at least 10 of those hours, no, maybe 8 of those hours is me grinding in the final area to beat the final boss. I ended up over leveling just so I could like absolutely win the battle because I kept dying. But it ended up being really just a really great experience to go back and play something older that I know a lot of people liked and see why they like it. I'm excited to jump into 5. I'm hesitant to buy it right away, just because I know Sea of Stars is coming, and I started a playthrough of Earthbound, which I've also never played. And as a Toby Fox fan, I feel like I owe it to myself.
Oh yeah, that'll get your number. I've played a little bit of Earthbound and just like loved it.
Yeah, and like also Earthbound, I want to play because I ordered an analog pocket, which should come some nebulous time in the next month, and so I have the fan translation on ROM of Mother 3, which I've always wanted to play. And talking to previous guests of this show, Rebecca Valentine, she suggested playing Earthbound first because while they're not directly connected, there's a lot of emotional beats that are connected between Earthbound and Mother 3. And so I'm making my way through Earthbound also. But I think I've gone on this journey of like playing classic RPGs, and I'm excited to play more of them because it's the era of games that I really loved. And I didn't play as many of them as I thought I did. And so Final Fantasy IV ended up being a great game to play. It was Final Fantasy II here in North America before like Square Enix kind of re-released everything in the actual order. But I really think it's possibly one of the best Final Fantasy games, and just a really great story. Again, the main character, the Dark Knight Cecil, goes on this like kind of self-discovery journey that I find actually is kind of the theme of a lot of Final Fantasies. The lead character kind of goes on in like a journey within themselves as well as an actual journey. But I thought this one was told quite well. I know, Doug, that you're a fan of Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah. This is kind of a road post for me in terms of my love of games because, before this, I'm born in 1980, so cut my teeth on an Atari and then the NES, and there aren't very many games on the NES that have kind of sprawling stories. Like the most that I got would have been something like the cutscenes in the original 2 Ninja Gaiden games, or like Star Tropics, things like that, where it's still very modest in terms of story. So this was the first game to come along in my orbit where it was a huge epic story told over the course of 20 some odd hours. I had never experienced that before, and I remember being totally enraptured with the game to the point where I faked being sick to stay home from school so I could play it. Not something I did too often, and I remember specifically I faked having pink eye to do it because as a kid, and even still today, but definitely as a kid, eye drops were my kryptonite. Like I absolutely hated that above all else. So I thought, if I fake this, my mom will never believe that I voluntarily subjected myself to this just so I could stay home and play Final Fantasy. And I love the game a bunch. I think it is, it is obviously a more simplistic version of one of these types of games. It's early on in the development of these, so for me it always felt like Final Fantasy IV walked so that 6 could run, and so I'm really excited to see what your thoughts are, because I know you've played a good chunk of 6, but I think once you finally play 6 all the way to the end, you'll be like, oh wow, it's sort of like we were just talking about with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, where it's like they really took this and evolved it to something even more special than it already was. And 4 has a lot to recommend it. It has great characters. It has great music. It has kind of just some really just fun scenarios and stuff in it. But it holds your hand in a lot of ways and is more limited. Final 6 kind of says, or Final Fantasy 6 says, let's go deeper. Let's have more dark, profound, emotional moments. Let's do things with the narrative that are non-linear and weird and just ambitious. So I'm really excited to. If you liked 4, I know you're going to be over the moon about 6.
Yeah, I'm excited to go through them. I think I am still going to play 5 before that because I've heard it's one of the best class systems in the early games for sure. It inspired a lot of the way classes were done in the later games. I'm just debating whether I want to. I really think I'm going to try and get through Earthbound before I play another game, because more than one RPG at a time is not possible. It's too much.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But I am excited to play the rest of them, and I will definitely pick them all up because I also already have 9, 7, I think 12 on the Switch. So I've just decided that the Switch is going to be my Final Fantasy machine, at least for the classics. But yeah, it was great. I really, really dug it. It's definitely I went into it expecting to enjoy it. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. And it makes me.
Who's your favorite character? Who was your favorite character from it, other than Cecil?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I think it is Cecil. I really do love his character. It's funny. The story is really dark and interesting. I think it treats the women characters, interestingly, I don't think they're treated poorly, especially by some other narrative standards. They don't have a ton of agency, but I do like that, like, Rydia goes from being this child whose entire village you raise to the ground to this incredible summoner and caster who's incredibly confident and communes with these creatures. And, like, so I really actually enjoy her character a lot as well. But I'd have to say that Cecil is my favorite. I just like his story and turn from a Dark Knight to a Paladin, and like how that happens, and like it's really done very well. So I think I'd have to say Cecil is definitely my favorite character and one of my favorite Final Fantasy protagonists ever, I think, too.
Solid choice.
That.
Yeah.
I know nothing about Final Fantasy, so I support you not knowing.
That's
At
the, I look
That's
you.
fair.
You can be happy that I'm happy, and I am happy that you're happy that I'm happy.
Yeah, we're all just happy together.
Exactly.
Imagine me and you, and you and me.
You and me.
Well, Matt.
Yes.
If you had to sum up Final Fantasy IV in just 3 words, and you cannot use Final Fantasy nor 4 to encapsulate it, how would you describe this video game?
See, it's funny because I feel like video games are so much harder to reduce to 3 words than movies or TV, even though
It's really true because it's hours.
I mean, it's so much
it
more
shifts,
time,
It's got
yeah.
gear changes, like.
I would say Final Fantasy IV, my 3-word review would be epic, beautiful tale.
Epic, beautiful tale. I love that. An epic, beautiful tale.
You could argue that epic and beautiful are redundant, but I think that they...
Well, something can be beautiful but not epic,
That's
and something
true.
can be epic and not beautiful.
That's true.
Like, I can't think of something that is epic and also not beautiful. Like,
That's all
I
right.
guess-
Terminator 2.
the big
true.
trash cyclone in the ocean.
There you go.
That's
Epic,
just like,
but not
yeah,
beautiful.
that's epic, not beautiful.
Agreed.
There you go. I
There you
found
go.
one.
There it
I
is.
found one.
Good
It's
job.
a natural disaster is epic, not beautiful.
Well,
Climate change, epic, not beautiful.
yeah, okay, you got it. Yeah, there you go. That's a good example. Oh my God, we're all gonna die in
Figured
a
it
fire.
That's gonna be the planet.
That's gonna be the
Everyone,
planet.
hey,
We're all gonna
hey,
be
ref,
saying
do
this is
something.
fine.
Ref, do something. Hello, ref. Could you do something?
Do something, please.
Please, ref.
Well, now it's
I'm asking. I'm begging.
now it's our incredible guest's turn. So, Doug, what is the
Yeah.
most recent thing that you have done that you've brought to the show?
So what we were talking off air, we sort of decided the last thing I rolled credits on because as I mentioned, I have 2 kids that are 4 and 7. So my game time is pretty limited. So to actually finish a game, I have a few that are like I'm in the middle of. But the last thing I officially rolled credits on was the DLC for Horizon Forbidden West, Burning Shores. So I figured I would talk about that, not just the DLC, but the entire game experience. And I really enjoyed the first one a whole bunch. It's just a great sci-fi story. I really loved kind of the central mystery, and the way they slowly doled that out was really cool. And it was neat because basically, if you look at the cover of that game, it's Aloy, the main character, this Stone Age-ish huntress, archer, standing in front of a gigantic robotic T-Rex. And even from the cover, you can deduce a lot about, okay, all right, so it's post-apocalyptic. There was a fight between humans and machines. The machines obviously won. Yeah, we've seen it in The Matrix. We've seen it, in Terminator. We've seen it 100 times. And even with giving you all of that stuff, you think, well, I've seen and heard this before. They found a way to get an angle on it that was unique and intriguing and really surprising in terms of what the central mystery was in terms of, how did the world end up this way? And where does our protagonist fit into it? Because it's such a great sort of Twilight Zone-y twist, I'm hesitant to say what it is, but it's a little hard to talk about Forbidden West without explaining it. But basically, the twist is not just that the machines won, but that all life on Earth was actually extinguished, down to the last bacterium. And Zero Dawn is the name of the project that was developed in the late 20th century to stop this onslaught by the machines, and is literally just kind of a buried terraforming system where we're gonna, once all the machines run out of biomass to fuel themselves, they'll all shut down eventually. and then we have to rebuild the Earth from scratch with, terraforming and cloning. And that's what all of these robotic dinosaurs that you encounter are actually doing. They're not meant to be hostile. They have functions in terms of like air purification and regrowing vegetation and stuff like that. So what you also learn is the guy who was behind, who inadvertently caused the robots to run amok, the head of this robotics company, fucked over the system because there was supposed to be a module that taught all of the newly cloned humans about the world and technology and how it all works. And he sabotaged that to, his stated goal was, well, I want to, not have people repeat history and make the same mistakes we made. But really, it's just arrogance. He wants to cover his tracks so that no one knows. And he systematically murders all of the scientists who were involved in the project. That's one of his last acts. It's gloomy as fuck. One of my favorite details from the original is when you get to the facility where these are where like these scientific luminaries came to develop the projects where they were hired, and you first get to the lobby and there's like a recording that you stumble onto that's like the two employees talking about like, we really need to do a better job of soundproofing the lobby so that people can't hear the screams from next door when they're hearing the video where they find out that all life on Earth is doomed. Like, what a great, like, dark thing. So the whole, like, present day plot of Horizon Zero Dawn is to essentially stop one of the modules from this terraforming system. They were all sort of set loose. And this one, its function was, if the terraforming goes out of whack, we don't want humans to be cloned into a world that they can't survive. So we need a way to actually destroy the Earth, reboot it back to zero, just in case we need to start over for some reason. So that's what it's doing. So you have to stop that module and then save the Earth. The sequel kind of picks up, and the premise of it is, some of them are still out there. You still got to go find them. They're not harming anything, but because they're not part of the system, the environment is still starting to kind of tilt out of whack. And now there's no contingency plan to reboot and start over. This is it. We got to fix the Earth we've got. So your character is off on a hunt for those. The other really cool thing that you learn is that you find out that in the first game, what set all these things loose was some sort of signal from space. There was a second contingency plan. If the cloning and terraforming didn't work, there was a bunch of people on an ark that went off to Sirius, the star, 6 light years away. And you hear in the first game, the ship blew up, so it failed. You find out it didn't blow up, and in fact, the people who went off to Sirius are now coming back and are starting to cause havoc here. That's the premise. So I don't want to give any more about where the story goes, but that's sort of the premise, and it's a really unique sci-fi world with habit. It's beautiful. The music is lush and great, and Aloy is just a really winning character, so it's fun to just inhabit.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the first game a lot, and I was curious about the second one. I haven't picked it up yet, but it sounds like they just kind of, like we were talking about with the last two games we talked about, it sounds like this game just iterated on the incredible stuff that the first game did and kind of built out the systems and mechanics and story to make it even go bigger than the previous game.
Yeah, the gameplay is almost identical from the first game. They don't iterate on the gameplay nearly as much as something like Tears of the Kingdom, changes things up. They add in a glider, just like Breath of the Wild has. So if you jump off a high thing, you can glide down. At a certain point, one of the mechanics in the first game is you can reprogram a hostile machine to be your ally, and you can mount some of them and ride them around. In Forbidden West and the sequel, some of those are capable of flight. So
cool.
fairly, it's not early in the game, but maybe about at least 2/3 of the way through, you're able to start flying around on these things and getting to places. And it's just really just soaring over these gorgeously rendered environments is pretty special.
That's awesome. Do you enjoy this one as much as the first one?
Yes, with a caveat. The gameplay is just as solid as it was. The only thing that I'll say, I like the story of the second one, and some of the twists in it are really cool. And it has one of the most like Fallout level, short story kind of like horrendous things I've ever seen, and it's awesomely delivered. But that central twist of the first game about what happened to the world, like you've already solved that mystery. So it's hard to come up with anything that will equal that. So while the story is good, it also feels a lot like the middle part of a trilogy. Like it basically ends like Two Towers go, the battle for Helm's Deep is over. The battle for Middle Earth is about to begin. Right? That's how it kind of ends. And it because of that, yeah, it's got a little bit of this middle chapter syndrome. That doesn't make it bad. It just means, the original game was more of a succinct whole thought, and this feels a little less focused. But again, mild criticism. It was still a lot of fun beginning to end.
And this is one of the last games with Lance Reddick in it, correct? Because he plays one of the main villains. A bummer because his character, Silence, I believe, in the first game was incredible. He was just, and Lance Reddick is an incredible performer, flat out. But as I recall, besides Destiny, which he was constantly working on, this was one of his last video game performances.
It is, yeah. It was a little bit of a bummer, because he died between when the base game came out and when the DLC came out, and not long before either. Something like, I don't know, maybe less than a month before the DLC came out. And you boot up the DLC, and one of the first things you do in it is go up and talk to him.
Oy.
And so it was a very kind of like, oh, I'm gonna miss you, buddy. Like, he's a great actor, and I just love the way he's one of those guys that's a little like Christopher Walken. Like, just the way he speaks is so unique that it like just naturally him speaking imbues so much life into this character.
Yeah, he's got a gravitas that I feel like only certain actors have, and when he speaks, like, those characters also have that gravitas.
Yeah, he's a. I mean, you don't get a lot of him in either game, but like they make it count when he shows up, and he's not exactly a villain. He's one of those great characters that's like, I don't know if I can trust this guy. I don't know that he's flat out evil, but I can never fully trust him. He's great.
Yeah. Doug, if you had to sum up Horizon Forbidden West, I had to remember the subtitle, Burning Shore, and the Burning Shores DLC in just 3 words, and you couldn't use any of those words, what 3 words would you choose?
Lady kills. This is 4 words. Shoot. Archerist, more robots.
Archerist, more robots.
It's as best as I could do.
We don't judge here. All 3-word reviews are great 3-word reviews.
Yes. Archerist, more robots.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's definitely been on my list. I have a PS5 and I've wanted to play it. I think also part of the hesitance is I've kind of steered away from open world games.
Same.
They say unironically, realizing that they put like 100 hours into Tears of the Kingdom, but like that, I feel like it's easier for me to do that on a Switch when sitting in front of the TV, spending more than a handful of hours. Like, I like shorter games on the TV because I just feel like I can get through them, and I don't know. There's not really a whole lot of logic to it, but Forbidden West's been on my list for a while. I definitely need to go check it out.
If you like the first one, you'll like this one.
Good to know.
Easy to recommend.
Well, now, my friend, it is time for us to turn the spotlight on you. So, as I mentioned earlier, you have an incredible podcast called Nostalgia Arcanum, and it's you talking with a guest about like a impactful thing from their past, and like waxing nostalgic about it, essentially. I got to do an incredible episode on Chrono Trigger. It was a lot of fun to come on because you framed it as, because your show covers a ton of media, like, what if we talked about Chrono Trigger, but not just for people who play video games, which I love that idea, right? That you wanted to make it approachable for a listener who maybe has never played a video game. When creating the show, was that always the kind of pitch? Like, let's talk about TV and movies and video games, but like talk about it as if this is a first experience for someone so they don't feel left out if they're not a fan of or engaged in the thing.
I don't know if that was exactly a goal I had at the outset, was to think about, like, how do I make this approachable to someone who hasn't consumed whatever the subject is. But I think that was just a core part of the philosophy that evolved over time, of just like, I can't always guarantee who's going to be listening to this, but the point of the show is always, it's about the love for the subject that the guest has. And that, to me, that's always infectious. It's like, I want to understand, if it's not something that I personally, love a whole bunch, and oftentimes it is, but if it's something that I have no connection to at all, like, I'm interested in, like, why does this connect with you. Like, why is this the thing that you still won't shut up about 35 years later? What makes this thing endure? What makes it worth talking about? And so inevitably that means, yes, doing a deep dive into the minutia of the thing. But I always want to make sure that people who aren't, if it's a video game especially, why would anyone care about this video game from 30 years ago they haven't played? What makes it special? So that is definitely a part of it.
What inspired the show? Was it just you wanted an excuse to talk about cool, nerdy stuff that you love, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's the short answer. Yes. But I started getting interested in podcasting around 2015, and I did a little podcast with my nephew, who was then, I think, in 7th grade. We just talking about science stuff because he was really into science, and so am I. So we did a little science podcast for a while. We called it Quarks and Recreation, which I'm still proud of that title.
That's a good one.
That's real cute.
And so after that was done, it was just a fun little thing to do for a little while. And then the pandemic hit, and so we were trapped inside and looking for something to do. And so I used to do improv for many, many years. I did improv comedy, so I had a lot of friends, from my improv days. I stopped doing it once I had kids because I just didn't have the time and I couldn't make the commute. And but my best friend, I reached out to and said, hey, we don't get to see each other too much anymore anyway, and now it's even less because of this. What if we did a podcast together? And so we did something. It was the remit of that show was to cover a different villain every episode, whether from pop culture or real life or folklore. So we called it A Podcast But Evil. And I'm very proud of that show. It was a lot of fun.
So cute.
We did like 36 episodes. They're all up, and I'm still very proud of them. They're great. Go listen to them. But he was having some personal stuff after a while. It was a little hard for him to do. And we were talking about, well, maybe we'll do like a run of like special episodes for Halloween. And he just, so I had worked up a bunch of episodes. I was kind of like, I did the research for, and then he just wasn't quite there. And I'm like, well, I've done all the research for this. I'm jonesing to get on the mic and do a show. So I did these first 4 episodes, just me, with no guests, just talking about this stuff because I'm like, this is nerdy pop culture shit I'd be talking about anyway. So I did those, and then my wife was like, why don't you have your sister on an episode? I'm like, oh yeah, that'll be fun. We'll talk about something we loved as kids. And from there, it was just kind of like, no, I need to have a guest every time. Like I can only, it's hard for me to just monologue for, an hour straight about something, even if it's something I can gush about. And then it quickly was like, oh no, I want to talk about, what you like. I want to explore what makes it special for you. So that's how Nostalgia Marcanum got started. And it was really just, I don't want to be restricted in terms of like, we're just a movies podcast or just a games podcast. I'm like, I don't know, whatever the subject is. It could be a person, music. We've done a few music episodes. So yeah, it's just been a great excuse to like every week wrap myself in a warm blanket of, just fun stuff from the past. Like, there hasn't been a subject yet where I was like, oh, it's a lot of work.
Is there a subject that you've had that like you weren't super familiar with that you familiarized yourself with for the show?
Yeah, there's been a few of those. Some of them were easy, where it was like a movie that I hadn't seen and I could just watch. Other times we'll cover a TV show, and I'll usually say to the guest, if I haven't seen it, even if I have seen it, but I'll usually say, give me like 5 or 6 episodes that you think are representative that we can use to focus the discussion, because I don't got time to binge watch like 6 seasons of whatever it is you like. So we'll do that. And then the one that was the hardest, we just it's about to come out as we're recording this in a couple of weeks, but I did an episode on Yu-Gi-Oh, which I was too old for it really when it came out. I was just about to graduate high school when that started kind of taking off. And like, that is 20 years worth of, manga and anime. And there's like 12,000 cards in this game I don't know how to play. So for that, I just sort of had to like do my best to kind of get a bare minimum understanding of what it was, and then let my guests just do all the talking, because I just had to sort of interview them and let them take the wheel.
Do you find in those moments it's easier to kind of just play interviewer and like ask the right questions because you know how to guide a conversation even if you're not familiar with the subject matter?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have to, because like I said, I don't have much to say about it myself. I don't know, and I don't. If it's something I don't know very well, I want the show to always be positive, because the guest is there to gush about the thing. I don't want to be the wet blanket going like, I can see why you like that, but it's pretty dumb. I don't want to do that. So at most I might like come up with a gentle like joke about it, but nothing mean. But I'm like I said, I'm interested in why this person loves the thing. It's not. I don't really look at it as my job to like tear that down and with criticism of it, even if I have criticisms I think are valid. I'll find a way to bring those out without being like, and you're stupid for liking it.
Oh, you're saying that you don't want to give in to the internet hate and put out a podcast that's just ripping on stuff? You want to actually have a positive attitude and support the people coming on your show? What a wild concept.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. No, I find it's better to not be a dick if I can avoid it.
Shocking. Shocking.
Yeah.
We're all learning something today, I feel like.
Yeah. Hey, lesson of this episode. Don't be a dick.
It's not hard.
It's not
It's
hard.
really not,
It's
yeah.
really easy to not be a dick.
Yeah, it's
frankly.
true. It's totally true.
Yeah, but I loved having you on the show, by the way, man. You're welcome back anytime. So are you, Rachel. It's
Oh, thank you.
It's something you want to gush about. I'm here.
Boy, do I. How do you feel about professional wrestling?
I have no attachment to professional wrestling, but if you want to come on and talk about it, we did.
We
did
gush.
I was gonna say we did an episode of the old show, where the villain was the Iron Sheik. Rest in peace.
Oh my!
Yeah.
The Iron Sheik just like clicking a boot and going, "Oh, there's a blade. There's a blade in it. Ta-da! We're all pretending. It's great."
Did you follow him on Twitter at all when he was alive?
I didn't know. I very recently fell in love with professional wrestling. So like I'm coming at this all from a very new perspective. So like all this classic stuff is new minted for me. It's a very exciting time to be like, what's an AJ Styles? I don't know.
You're gonna have a fun time learning about the world of Hulk Hogan and like wrestling in the 80s because
it's been great. I recently watched the very, very first episode of WCW that takes place in the Mall of America, and I loved it. I loved its aesthetic. I loved that they just had audience members just constantly riding the escalators, just like looping around and around. I was like, you've made choices, WCW. I am in. I am excited to fully engage with Nitro. Like, it's so fun. Johnny B. Bad is everything to me. To be real, he is my whole heart.
But WCW, as much as I love the WWE, WCW has a special place in my heart.
WCW is just special.
I loved the classic bad guys of the NWO. Like, they were so good. The evolutions of Sting and how he pretty much ripped off the Crow and made it his aesthetic and became a wrestler wandering around in a trench coat with a bat. Diamond Dallas Page, DDP, I loved as a character because he literally was just excited all the time. That was his character. Like, and the self high five, which is the dumbest, best thing ever.
Everything is so silly.
It's so silly.
Perfect. It's perfect.
I mean, everything you need to know about professional wrestling to me is that scene with Randy Macho Man Savage and the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like that's it.
Bonesaw
is ready. Yeah, he's so like
scene.
That voice that Randy that he developed for that his character is just. It's hard to describe how like everywhere wrestling was in the 80s, and that it was just even for me who didn't care, like just through osmosis, it was around. Like you couldn't avoid that weird.
Yeah,
it's so unique.
I never watched a single minute of wrestling when I was a small child, but those Wrestle Buddies came out, and I needed the Macho Man one because he looked like my dad.
Aww.
Like this big bearded man. I was like, I just need this. Looks like my father, kind of. So like it was a part of the zeitgeist, even if you weren't keyed into the actual art form, I knew Macho Man as the Slim Jim guy.
Sure.
I didn't know him as this wrestler. And now I get to discover him and watch his promos and like start stealing his stuff. It's great.
Have you watched any of Andre the Giant's old matches yet?
Oh, I've watched the Hulk Hogan Andre the Giant, just like
classic. And like to hear the stories after too about how sick he was at that time and how for all the qualms I have with Hulk Hogan as a person, like he didn't want to do that match because he knew he couldn't do it without hurting this person he respected. And like it's just such an interesting like legacy. It's really cool. Also,
what wrestlers treat their bodies like trash for much longer than they should?
Shocking.
No
Never
way.
happens.
I've
happened.
never heard a firsthand account of a wrestler going, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep working when I'm hurt because if I stop, then I'm gonna forever stop."
Yeah. I mean, just take one look at Mick Foley, a name that everyone knows.
My God, I love Mick Foley.
I do too. He's such a cupcake.
His very gentle "I'm hardcore" promo where he's like, I'm hardcore, and then he takes the microphone cord. He's like, look, I can floss between my teeth with this mic.
He's
Look
got
at
that
my
giant
ear
gap.
is gone. I can't wear glasses. I'm hardcore. I love him.
He's
love
great.
him. I'm sorry. Hey Doug, this is a taste of what you would get if I came on your show. I hope this is an endorsement and not a detriment.
No, it's exactly the kind of thing we would want. Like, I love that you're so enthused about this stuff.
So
It's so cute.
excited about it. I just can't even believe it. I can't believe that it's real and people are letting me participate and suplex them.
Before we wrap up,
Anyway,
Doug,
Sorry.
I would like to talk to you a
Yeah.
little bit about what we hinted at the start of the show. So another reason I wanted to have you on is you are a podcaster in a similar boat to us, with SAG and the WGA and wanting to support the striking workers, because they deserve a fair wage and be able to actually, live. You have to kind of pivot your show. Are you going to make an effort in the coming months or for however long this lasts to lean on books or TV or and music and games? Are you going to try and avoid some of the subject matter?
Yeah, I haven't quite figured out exactly how I'm going to do it. I'm lucky in that I now have 3 episodes in the can that are not strike material. They're not struck stuff. So my next episode that comes out on Monday as we're recording this is about Doom, the original 1993 game, followed by the Yu-Gi-Oh episode I talked about, and then I just recorded one on Mega Man 2. I have 2 episodes that I've recorded that are on struck content. One on Muppet Treasure Island that we did with our mutual friend Josh Covell, and another one on Tim Burton's Batman. And so they're really great episodes. I'm really excited for people to hear them. And I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet because on the one hand, yes, it is struck content. On the other hand, this stuff is so old. You know, and it's we're taught the remit of our show is this is something you loved when you were a kid and talking about why you loved it. It's a little different from, say, a rewatch podcast.
Right.
But again, a lot of my friends are actors. I want to support that too. So I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do, if I'm going to keep recording episodes on other things, postpone stuff. I don't know yet. So that's a long way of answering it. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I'd rather not cross a picket line if I can avoid it.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, we recorded an incredible episode with the wonderful Jala-chan right before the strike started and the SAG part of it. We talked about a ton of struck content on it. I think I talked about the bear in that episode. It might have been the episode before. But we decided, with Jala's blessing, to put it on the shelf. Most of it is our show is mostly evergreen. We talk about current events a little. We were with the strike, but beyond that, and so we're probably just going to hold it until the strike ends, whenever that is, and then release it. But it's tough, right? I mean, it's an easy choice for me, right? I'd rather make nothing than cross a picket line, but we have found a way to make something, and I want to keep making something also because even leading up to this, when it was just the writers striking, we talked about it every episode. It was important to us to bring it up and let people know what's going on because it's very easy to miss this if you don't live on the internet like a lot of us do, or if you're not paying attention to the news, which some people don't. And so
also it behooves for lack of a better term, it behooves the masters for the general populace not to know what this strike is about, what we're working toward, the common goals. Because I don't know if you know, other industries are also starting their strikes. LA city workers are striking. I haven't checked back in on UPS if they've fully gone into a strike or not, but we're in a very workers are uniting kind of time, and the powers that be, the moneyed interests are probably just shh. It's a very don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Everybody, we should all go on strike though.
Yeah.
Real talk.
The whole planet. Let's all go on strike.
See previous statement about the climate change and how it's epic and not beautiful. There's a lot of going on. Let's all get together, and I don't know, maybe we should all become the ref. Hey, stop asking the ref. Let's become the ref and do something.
That's the future this planet deserves.
Yeah.
We're the ref now. Let's do something.
Let's do something. Awesome. Well, Doug, thank you for joining us.
Yes,
This
thank you
was a
so much,
wonderful
Doug.
conversation. I'm so happy we got to have you on. I'm excited
Yeah.
for the future wrestling episode with Rachel. That's
Oh,
now
boy.
apparently going to happen.
Oh, no.
I'm down.
But before we wrap up and thank some folks, I'd love for you to tell folks where they can find you online, where they can find your show, all the promoing you can do.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, thank God I picked a podcast name that's really easy to remember and spell. So it's Nostalgium, not nostalgia, but Nostalgium in Latin, Arcanum. So I'm sure it'll be in the notes to this
Yes.
podcast, I hope. But you can find us. We're still on the sinking ship that used to be called Twitter. I refuse to call it X, so I just refer to it as 10. So we're on 10 at Nostalgium Pod. We're also on Threads at Nostalgium Arcanum and on Instagram. Just find us there. That's where I'll post bonus stuff anyway. So that's probably the preferred social media spot for now. But that's where you find it. Wherever you search for podcasts, put it that in your search bar, and that's where it is.
Yep. And there will definitely be a link in the show notes to the podcast as well as to Doug's profile on that website that is will always be Twitter as far as I'm concerned. Because that's what it's called. That's its name. It's literally in the URL still. The URL isn't x.com. That's something else. It's twitter.com. It's Twitter.
Yeah. And
Elon,
hey,
you
listeners,
idiot.
I very quickly typed in Nostalgium Arcanum on the Google,
And you found it.
pulled up the website, was able to follow on the Cursed Bird app.
There you go.
So
Just
easy.
like that.
You can do it. And just like that.
Just like that.
Bang.
Bang.
Done. What's your excuse? Are you currently
Whoa.
podcasting? No, you're
don't
not.
get
I'm
aggressive
sorry.
with
I'm
our
sorry.
listeners.
You're
Come on.
You're right. Sorry.
They're on our side.
Ooh, they are. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes I just want to cut a promo.
Yeah,
on
that's true.
on
No,
all.
you got-
It's
you got
I was
it.
coming for a promo on the listeners.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Anytime.
Well, before we ask you our final question, Doug, we do have some folks to thank. Rachel,
boy.
why don't we thank some folks?
Just realized their final question might need an update. But you know what doesn't need an update? My gratitude. I would love so much to thank John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Remble. Thank you so much for being the sound that brings us in and the music that brings us out each week. I love you, John. I love you.
Someday, future guest of this very podcast,
Someday.
John Presnell.
Just gotta track him down again.
And I would like to thank the incredible Katie Bug, Katie
yes.
Beastie, who redesigned our incredible logo very recently and made us look even hotter than we already did.
Yeah.
It's really an accomplishment.
You know what, Matt? I'm gonna say it. We are glowing up.
We are glowing up. It's true.
I'm really. I mean, I'm not surprised for you. Because look at you.
I mean, I'm not surprised for you either.
Fucking
Look at
cutie.
you.
But
Come
look
on.
at us.
Look at
Like
you.
we're
the cutest.
we're Jack Harlow in industry, baby. We're out here getting cuter.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Who knew? And thank you so much to the Certain Point of View Podcast Network for continuing to love and support us and other incredible shows out there. If you want to know all there is to know about the Certain Point of View Podcast Network, you just go on over to certainpov.com. You can find permalinks to our Discord server where we're keeping a conversation going. You can find links to the other shows that are existing, that are still trucking along here at the end of the world. Go find them. Go participate in them. Go like and subscribe to them. Write them reviews.
Yes.
Give them some love. Let's all be refs and do something for each other, for podcasters.
Agreed. In fact, once you rate and review our podcast, which the show note links are for Spotify and Apple, those are the big ones. You can click right through. Also go over to Nostalgium Arcanum and rate and review them as well, because it's the best way to grow audiences. It's the best engagement. Also, while you're over at certainpov.com, a bunch of us folks have Patreons and merch stores. It really helps us getting dollars in our pockets to build out our shows, grow the stuff we're working on, do more stuff. Rachel streams often. All that money goes back into Rachel being able to make some awesome, cool stuff for you. So
give me money.
give Rachel money. And me too, I
Give
guess.
Matt money. Give Doug money. Give us money.
It's true.
Just, if you see us on the street, just hand us cash.
Yeah, just hand
Don't
us
worry
cash.
about it. Just be like,
Yeah,
love your
yeah,
work.
yeah.
Hand us cash. We'll never
We'll
be
never
mad.
say never be mad.
Never say no to money.
I was once at a con. It was one of the earliest PAXs, and it was a nerd rap and nerd music panel, and Jonathan Colton was on it. And Jonathan Colton often talks about how in the early days of like pirating music, his music got pirated a lot because no one knew where to find him in the, all this stuff. And so someone came up to the Q&A portion and said, hey, I never paid you for this album I stole. Can I give you $20? And he said, sure. And the person walked up to Jonathan Coulton and gave him $20. It was the best.
Honestly, that's the way to do it. Pirate it and then give money directly to the artist later.
Yeah.
Like, cut out dump the bosses off your backs. Revolution now. Let's go. We're the ref.
All right.
Sorry, I'm off. Sorry.
Also, before we go, I should thank our incredible per episode artist, the one and only Case Aiken, who designs the show art.
No, never.
For the show.
Demon.
Case, thank you for designing our episode art. Even though Rachel doesn't appreciate it, I do.
I appreciate work.
Uh-huh.
I don't appreciate person.
Okay, fair enough. And now, before we wrap up the show, it is time for Rachel to ask our guest a modified version of our final question.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna broaden it.
Okay.
We're gonna go overarching. The art of storytelling, in its evolution over time, has presented us with recurring moments, motifs, incidences, whatever. They're called tropes. We love a good trope. We love to see it. They connect us, they ground us, they bind us. May the trope be with you, as it were. And I'd love to know, Doug, if you could choose any one trope from any discipline of storytelling to instantly and magically become true in your life, which trope would you choose?
Oh, well, that's easy. I would want, eccentric old Uncle Chesterfield to die and to give me, his inheritance. But, of course, to get it, I have to spend a night in a haunted house. Give me them ghosts.
Oh,
That's
bring on the
one.
ghosts. Oh. Listen, every time we ask this question, someone brings up something completely new and different, and it just reminds me that I love people. I love humanity. Let's fight to save each other. We deserve it.
Yes, while Doug fights to get the riches by surviving in a haunted house.
Ooh,
Yeah. They're dead anyway. They don't need the money.
Yeah,
That's true.
Ghosts aren't that bad.
No.
Honestly.
Ghosts are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're better than birds.
That's true.
Yell at a bird.
Yell
at a bird today.
Well, thank you again, Doug, for
Thank you,
joining us.
Doug.
This was wonderful to have you.
A delight.
And then I also, of course, I'm obligated. I must thank
Oh.
my brilliant, bright, and lovely co-host, the one and only Rachel Quirky Shank.
Oh, thank you. And I must thank my You Are Free co-host, Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
I wish that were true. And, of course, we want to thank all of you, our incredible listeners, for we would not have a show without you. We'd be just screaming at birds or into the void. So thank you for being here. We will see you at the movies. Or...
Well, no, we'll see. Hey, we'll see you on the picket line. Or on a couch
on couch somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Bye-bye.
Aurora, 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 Aurora. Metal to magnet, she will be mine. Aurora.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CertainPOV.com.